What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Legends of Tomorrow Season 4, Episode 1, and I am so glad that I decided to change up my plans a little bit, because if you watch my video about the plan for the DC shows, my plan was to just do the three shows that connected for this season, which is The Flash, then Arrow, then Supergirl, because those are the only three involved in the crossover. However, after Supergirl, yeah, I needed some levity. I needed something that wasn't going to take itself too seriously, that wasn't going to have to pause and make time for some political agenda. And The Legends is that type of show. You know, they have had a couple where they have delved into the political jargon and trying to talk about, one side. But for the most part, it stays just fun. They know that it's a weird, fun concept, and they have as much fun with it as they possibly can. So I really like this show. Like it's very underrated in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, good setup for the season. You know, a little bit cliche to do the whole, oh, everything seems fine, guys, we're all hunky dory, and then find out that everything has gone wrong anyway. But for the most part, I like how it played out. I like how everybody ended up at Woodstock. You've got Sarah finding out there's some burps, as they call them in the timeline. I'll be curious to find out why those are not considered anachronisms. But she goes to check it out. Ray finds out about this thing and thinks it might be Nora, so he's going to go check that out for himself. And then Nate and Mick happen to be visiting Nate's parents, and then Nate's father mentions, the hippies that got massacred at Woodstock. The only thing I do have a question about, and I don't know if they'll explain this or if we're just supposed to understand this, but obviously his father knows history is different, or not. He knows history that is different, but Nate knows that it's different. Like, he hears the hippies got massacred, and he's like, wait, that's not what happened. So I don't know if they've talked about this before. Like, are they immune to the changes in history? Like, whenever history does change, why doesn't their mindset change? And it could just be, they come from a different timeline. So when timelines do change, everybody that they're visiting currently is from this new timeline while they're still from the old timeline, I guess. Just a little nitpick, but I guess it's just a problem you're going to have whenever you deal with time travel. Like, you always got to deal with little plot holes here and there. But yeah, I like how they all ended up there. Some of the jokes just landed so well. You've got first whenever they're dealing with the Beatles and talking about, like, Mick is talking about, I've never met an Englishman I didn't want to punch in the face. And then Nate's like, well, if it weren't for the British Revolution for music, we wouldn't have, Led Zeppelin. And it just names off a few, and you can just see Mick's not unchanged at all. Or his face is unchanged. He's like, I don't care. But then he mentions Black Sabbath. He's like, oh, we gotta save these British fops. It's perfect that Black Sabbath is the one that Mick's like, oh no, you can't take Black Sabbath away from me. So I love that intro. The fact that they're getting praise for solving all the anachronisms. I mean, it's a good scene. Sarah and Ava, I mean, not huge on their relationship, but it's okay for what it is. I like the fact that Ava doesn't instantly go like, you didn't tell me about this whole thing, how dare you, and just kind of push her away. Like, sometimes people do things without telling the other person, like that. Just, it happens from time to time, because sometimes they're trying to do it, they are justifying it in their minds. And if you truly love that person, yeah, you'll be a little upset. And she does mention she wasn't happy that Constantine was involved, which, they are Sarah and Constantine are former lovers, so kind of makes sense there. But she forgives her. She's like, yeah, I wasn't too happy about it, but hey, you were doing what you thought was best. So I like that scene. I like the fact she didn't really like get really angry and blame her for the whole thing. But yeah, their relationship is just kind of, it's there. It's nothing really special. Sarah doesn't seem the type to settle down, so it's a little weird seeing her talking about settling down. I really not sure about the whole Ray and Nora thing either. Like, he talks about feeling the spark whenever their hands touched. I'm like, okay, yeah, for Ray that makes sense, but is this really going to be his story for this season? Is him chasing after Nora? Like, I kind of want more than that for Ray. But yeah, I mean, their stories for the most part are pretty good. And then some of the scenes at the Woodstock place is just really, I don't know, perfect comedic timing. First of all, the unicorn. Can we just talk about that scene? Because it was perfect. They see the unicorn, they're all like, oh, look, it's so, Mick's ready to shoot, of course, but the rest of the team is like, wow, it's just so beautiful. Nate makes the comments like, we just made things more magical. Um, I forget the other girl's name. I'll have to look it up before the next episode. But the one that came from the future and is helping them now, I think she has one of those the totem things. I honestly, it's been a while since I've watched the show, so I've forgotten some of this. Um, but just they're all like so entranced, and then all of a sudden, just the unicorn runs straight at a woman, spears right through her, throws her aside, and then starts eating her heart. And their reactions are just priceless. They're like, oh God, oh no! It's just absolutely. It was hilarious. I loved it. So that, and then the fact that they got sprayed with the whatever the unicorn sprays on them to make them more susceptible to be eaten. Some of their trip outs were hilarious. Getting to see Nate and Mick, seeing them. Nate sees his father, Mick sees his dead rat. Just that was a funny scene. Ray and he calls her Z, so I'll call her Z for now. Ray and Z in the forest, and both of them having their trip out moments, and then Constantine and Sarah walking upon this scene. Ray's making out with a tree he thinks is Nora. Mick, for some reason, is rolling Nate around or like doing wheelbarrow with him, and then Z is just like kind of on the ground rolling a bit. It's perfect. But yeah, I mean, all of that was really funny. The fact that they got Gary involved, his whole thing was funny. I thought it was going to be a little bit more like when the unicorn jumped back out and like it looked like it stabbed him through the heart. I was like, oh God, Gary dead. But then it turns out he just bit his nipple off. I'm like, oh, okay, some more humor. So I will say there was kind of it felt like they were going for something dramatic, but then they didn't want to carry through on killing Gary. And so they're just like, oh, haha, nipple's gone. It's funny. So I don't know. It was kind of a weird scene because I should have expected that, but for some reason I didn't. But yeah, then the end definitely ominous. We see Sarah's trying to get John onto the team, which he would be helpful since they seem to be going up against more demon-like monsters, which is his forte. He knows magic. He knows how to deal with them. So yeah, I'll be curious to see if he does join the team because we see he gets attacked by some force. Very, very intense, and even he seems to be. I don't know if it's just because he was caught off guard or if it's just because he doesn't know who it is. But ultimately, it writes on the mirror, I'm coming for you, Johnny. So I'll be curious to see if he does decide to join after that. He would be a welcome addition to the team, I think, because he's much more, not grounded. I don't know, he's much more cynical than most of the team. Like, Mick obviously is also, he's there for the dry humor, but John seems much more sarcastic than Mick. Mick just seems to be kind of an asshole. So I think that would be fun to see Constantine as a part of the team and getting to see his interaction with the team, but also the fact that they do really need him for this season to take on the monsters they're facing. So yeah, I'm curious to find out if he joins the team or not. But yeah, good first episode. It gets me excited for the rest of this season. So on to the next one. See you there. Now episode 2, Witch Hunt. So there are definitely some good points. Like, again, the show's a lot of fun, really fun to watch. They've got the fairy godmother for crying out loud. And a little too perfect that they chose the woman who voices Mama Cosma from Fairly Odd Parents. I kept hearing her whenever she would speak. It was just too perfect. And yeah, a lot of the stuff with her was really fun, getting to see this kind of fairy godmother-like character and just how much she hates humanity because of what happened to her in the past. And yeah, that part was fun, getting to see Constantine taking her back to hell, and also trying to possibly use her as well to escape what appears to be his own fate, which is whoever's coming after him seems to want to, based on what she said, it seems to want to take him kind of the same way that he takes the monsters he's trying to capture. I don't know. I'll be curious to see exactly who this monster is, or when we even find out about them. But yeah, all of that was fun. The stuff with Nate and his dad, a little relatable, but also just, it was funny, just getting to see Nate trying to convince his dad of what he does, and then ultimately using Ray as a pig that turns back into Ray at the end. So all of that was good. The problem I have, though, is Zari. And this is not the first time that she's played loose with the timeline before. But it also feels like it's going to happen in the future because there doesn't seem to be any real repercussions for it. And here's the thing, I don't have a problem necessarily with the idea of trying to maybe help people who are in danger. And, like they did with that one person, I don't remember who it was now, but there was somebody who was in danger, and they took her to Themyscira to live with the Amazonian women. I don't remember who that was now that I'm thinking about it, but it was kind of an interesting concept, because everybody thought she was dead, and so they took her to Themyscira, and now she is technically like considered dead while still being able to live out the rest of her life. So I liked certain things that they've done when they've changed the timeline before, but now it feels like this just straight up changed history. You changed the Salem witch trials. Kind of a problem, because don't get me wrong, yeah, the witch trials were terrible, but we also don't have the ability to just go back in time and change every horrible thing that happened, because honestly, some of those horrible things that happened led to where we are now, and if not for those horrible things, we might not be in the same life that we're living in. So it's hard to say where the line is, because you want to talk about these horrible things, and yeah, you want to deal with why they were horrible, but also you can't just change them because they happened. The past happened. And it's kind of something that's being talked about even now when some people talk about they deserve more because of what happened in the past. Not really. Because what happened in the past it doesn't affect what happens now. We choose what happens now. And I like that concept, but also because you're dealing with a show about time travel and you can go back and change that, you've got to show the repercussions in the future, and I don't think they're going to. I think it's just, oh, you managed to fix one of these executions in the Salem witch trials to the point where maybe even these people's hearts changed. That's going to have some bearing on the future, but they just seem to play it like, nah, it doesn't. We're gonna go ahead and pretend like that never happened. It's not quite right for me. It doesn't fit with what this show does, which is for the most part like they stick to fun things and they stick to time travel like zaniness. This is more like you want to talk about, these horrible things that happened in the past, and we can go back and change those horrible things. Now you're dipping into problems. You're dipping into situations that doesn't quite work. So I don't know. I had a problem with that whenever they kind of sort of glossed over the fact that they did just change time. They did just change what happened at the Salem witch trials, and it looked like they kind of changed people's opinions too, and it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. If it does, you got to show why it still manages to work out, even though they did change this. You got to show why that is okay. And also the fact that Zari doesn't really seem to get much of a penalty for that. And like I said, this is not the first time she's played loose with the timeline, but this is something where she literally went in and just completely changed everything to save this one woman's life. And I get why, and I get Sarah saying why she gets why, but also it shouldn't just be like, yeah, like I understand, but let's work to change things together. Let's work on getting over our problems together. No, it should be, look, we can't have you doing this. We can't have you going out there and just doing whatever you want, because it can cause some serious problems. But again, it just kind of feels blown over. And I don't know. It's like they want to play it both ways. Again, they want to have their cake and eat it too. Oh yeah, let's change this horrible, horrible thing because it deserves to be changed. Well, yeah, then you can go and change every horrible thing that happened. But it's something that happened in history. You can't just do that and expect things to work out okay and expect the timeline to be okay. So I don't know. It might be a nitpick, but it's something that is bothering me personally. Just because this show has done a good job of, whenever they do make changes, they either show the changes that happen or they showed how they managed to patch it. So it's not that big of a problem. This seems like the first time that they changed something really big. and there's not really a fix. There's not really a, oh, this changed this. It's like, oh yeah, that was a horrible time and you changed it. Good job. I'm proud of you. It's not how that works. So, yeah, that's about it for these 2 episodes, though. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts? We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Legends of Tomorrow, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.